This is the scale of justice. On this edition, we shall be taking a look at the proposed alteration of the Constitution as it affects the judiciary. In the course of the program, the role of the media in the coverage of the judiciary will also be examined. You will equally be informed about 12 inmates in Niger State who regained their freedom. Dele Atumbi is my name, standing in for your regular host, Femi Okewo. The 8th National Assembly is planning 5th alteration of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which came into effect in 1999. The committee has called for memoranda in specific areas of amendment. The scale of justice takes a look at the possible areas of reform regarding the judiciary. The judiciary, no doubt, has continued to be the bastion of democracy and the last hope of the common man. For this arm of government to be up to speed in justice delivery, an intermittent review of the law is imminent. A notable reform in the judicial history of Nigeria is the establishment of the National Judicial Council (NJC) in accordance with the provisions of Section 153 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. In the proposed 5th alteration, some legal practitioners are of the opinion that judicial reform must include review of the jurisdiction of courts and financial judicial autonomy.
One of the significant achievements of that Constitution 1999 Constitution was the revolutionary establishment of what is called National Judicial Council, NJC. It was expected that judiciary, as the third arm of government, will be truly autonomous, will be truly independent. But unfortunately, as of today, 20 years after, regrettably, the Nigerian judiciary is still as unindependent, as dependent on the executive and the legislature for its survival. Budgeting system of the Federal Ministry of Finance is still what is controlling the budgeting system of the judiciary. They call it the envelope system. So there is something like a limitation that you can go. It's not the business of the Ministry of Finance to limit the planning of judiciary or the growth of judiciary. It is for the National Assembly, who is charged with the responsibility of approval of budgets of the president, of the executive and the legislature and judiciary. And that takes me to the jurisdiction of Supreme Court. My view is that Supreme Court, as the last court in the land, should not be taking all these frivolous petitions. Oh, this is governor today, it's not governor tomorrow. Land matters that are of old archival relevance. Appeal to Supreme Court should be with leave of the Supreme Court, as it is done in UK and America. Why are we still in Supreme Court? They still decide on the issue of landlord or paternity, assets, let's talk of. These are things that should die in the High Court or the Court of Appeal.
Election tribunals. I think it is better, at least apart from judicial officers, let them amend it in such a way that at least there must be practicing lawyers who have integrity and who have the knowledge of law, particularly procedure. It will definitely enhance their judgments. Procedure. Law is only evidence and procedure. And so, whatever it is, when you bring in the experience of those who are in practice, it will enhance the quality of the judgments of the election tribunals. All serious constitutional matters particularly election petitions, must end up at the Supreme Court. You see, and somebody will say, but then the Supreme Court is congested already. It's congested already because we allow cases that are not important to go to the Supreme Court, like land cases in my village, customary cases in my village. Well, what is the business of the Supreme Court with it? Those ones can and must stop at the Court of Appeal. But all serious constitutional matters must, to satisfy the yearning of all Nigerians, must terminate only at the Supreme Court.
The Federal High Court is overloaded with jurisdiction. It's not possible for the Federal High Court, no matter how many judges they appoint, no matter how hard they work, it's not possible for the Federal High Court to deal effectively with the deluge of cases that that court has to deal with. We've taken practically everything that's active and given to that court. Admiralty, banking, aviation, oil and gas, you name it, it's there. Now, remember that this was supposed to be a special court to deal with things pertaining to the federal revenue. And suddenly it has metastasized like a cancer into this hydra, which is piled everywhere. If you go to Lagos and count the number of state high courts, there are more than federal high courts, but if you don't look closely, you won't believe it. The Federal High Court is so large now, it's unnecessary. I think that some of that jurisdiction should be shared with the State High Court as it was under the 1979 Constitution, where it was the State High Courts that had unlimited jurisdiction. The Federal High Court had limited jurisdiction. Today, it's virtually the other way around.
If you look at the jurisdictions of courts, Nigerian judiciary has the heaviest jurisdiction as conferred on them by the National Assembly in the amendment, in the alteration of the Constitution and Electoral Acts and all the rest of them.
We have a major problem of jurisdiction as to adjudication. I'll say it and I will continue to say it. The Nigerian Supreme Court is the only court that sits from Monday to Friday, except on public holidays and during vacation. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. This is as a result of the kind of court system we operate. Nigeria, by the Constitution, is said to be a federation, a federal system of government. But when you come to the judiciary, we're operating a hybrid unitary system of judicial system.
The judiciary is the weakest link in the three arms of government. The executive controls the purse, the legislature approves the disbursement of the money, and it is whatever they send to the judiciary that they are made that they are forced to make do with, you know. And it has been like that over the years. When a man cannot meet his basic needs, and if he doesn't have a strong character, the tendency is that he will have no choice but to fall to debate. And that is why I must commend the president for the recent executive order he issued, that what is due to the judiciary should be paid directly to the judiciary from the national purse, instead of sending it to the state government.
Advocacy for judicial reform and welfare of the judicial officers and the establishment of special courts to aid specialization of legal practitioners and quick dispensation of justice.
Why is it that as of today our judges and justices are still writing in hands? Why is it difficult to operate our courts virtually? Why is it difficult? Because the infrastructures are not there. Why is it difficult for them to maintain their health? Because the funds are not there. Why is it difficult to undergo specialized training by our judges and justices? Because the funds are not there.
There is absolute need to improve the welfare of judges. Please, no judge, first of all, should have less than at least 3 security people guarding him or her. And then their salaries are totally insufficient. I say totally insufficient. We must improve this. When Buhari came, he started increasing the budgetary allocation. We thank God for that. Let him not stop. You see, no judge, even a high court judge, should not earn anything less than minimum of 2 million a month. These people are alienated from the society. They can't associate with you and I freely as I would do. They don't have any other source of income. And to reach that level, and particularly the African nature, everybody looks upon him now as the breadwinner. In Africa, you can't escape that. Whether you like it or not, you cannot escape it.
While for the federal courts, the Supreme Court, the Court of the Federal High Court, and the National Industrial Court, and perhaps the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, they are well funded. Everything due to those courts as passed by the National Assembly goes to those courts, and they are carrying out their normal business as it is expected. But the same is not with the state. You have problem, the same is not with the state. You have problem with the state in which the state governors, with all sense of responsibility, don't give the judiciary their due, despite the subsistence of the provision of Section 121 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic, which talks of financial autonomy of the judiciary.
I want us to look at the welfare of our judicial officers. A man who knows when he will retire, the day he appends his signature to the oath of office as a judicial officer, will leave that office after working so tirelessly. Because I must tell you, the work of a judicial officer at every level is a very tasking assignment. I know some judges in this country that have up to 600, 800 cases on their docket. Rulings, judgments, all manner of applications, all on the same man. And he's retiring in 3 years' time. He's been doing that job for 20 years. He does not have a house that he will retire to. And why? There is no provision for that. There's no provision for him. The salary of our judicial officers is the poorest in Africa.
From their submissions, judicial reform will aid the country's constitutional democracy.
I believe that time has come when the whole world should know who and what qualifies somebody to be a judge of High Court, Justice of Court of Appeal, and Justice of Supreme Court. In the same system you go through as a promotion from High Court to Court of Appeal, from Court of Appeal to Supreme Court. Time is now ripe for us to change it.
Legal practitioners appealed to the National Assembly to be steadfast in the 5th alteration of the Constitution. The symbiotic relationship between the media and the judiciary has in no small measure enhanced the reportage of the justice system delivery in the country. The mutual understanding between them is a springboard for the sustenance of good governance. Over to Aliyu Tukur for more.
The conference brings together people of like minds with common interests to see how they can make positive changes in the society. The 2021 annual conference of the National Association of Judiciary Correspondents, the first to be put together by the current leadership of the body. This year's conference, with the theme, The Role of Judiciary in Achieving Good Democratic Governance, along with some sub-themes carefully selected to equip journalists on how to report court proceedings and what they can do in helping the third arm of government overcome their challenges. To achieve this, both parties need to understand the symbolic relationship between the freedom of the press, independence of the judiciary, and democracy. With the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, who declared the workshop open, in a message says journalists must avoid sensational reportage as the citizens expect a lot from them, being the eyes of the society.
On this point, the federal government has taken and maintained the lead in ensuring total autonomy for the judiciary at the national level. The federal government has signed into law the Executive Order 10 on autonomy and independence of state legislature and judiciary. It is a constitutional provision that must be adhered to. On the issue of administration of a Criminal Justice Act, which is one of the topics of this conference, the government has greatly used the new law to fight economic and financial crimes in the country.
Permit me to delve briefly into the danger and the worrisome signals emanating in the judiciary sector. This has to do with the continued reduction in the budgetary allocation to this all-important arm of government. More than any other arm of government, the judiciary is burdened. The workload is much, so that their lordship now have to work both day and night in order to cope with the challenges of adjudicating on political issues, especially those that are time-bound.
To expand the horizon of the judiciary correspondence, papers on the role of judiciary in achieving good democratic governance and the independence of the judiciary and challenges of financial autonomy, the way forward, are among papers presented. These papers focus on lack of funding of the third arm of government, which causes unnecessary delays in court proceedings due to lack of enough judges.
It is important to state here that the Constitution is very apt in Section 81 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. I quote, "Any amount standing to the credit of the judiciary in the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation shall be paid directly to the National Judicial Council for disbursement to the heads of the courts established for the Federation and the states under Section 6 of the Constitution."
In line with the globally accepted Montesquieu principles of separation of power, judiciary is an arm of government that is vital to the survival of any nation built on justice, fairness, human rights. It is the guardian of the Constitution, which is a fountain upon which the government exercises power on behalf of the people. It is the arm of government that checks and balances the actions and inactions of the elected representatives of Nigerians, that heads other arms of government via its appointed officials. The judiciary guarantees the rights of citizens and checkmates the limits of the exercise of power by the officials of the state when called upon to do so by the citizens, arms, and tiers of government. Judiciary is not like Father Christmas. It is an arm of government, but it doesn't come directly to perform its function. No, it has to be approached. Father Christmas can come and be dispensing gifts to everybody, but in the instance of the judiciary, you have to come before it and make your plea before it can act to give you the remedy you want.
Participants at the conference are of the opinion that there is no better time to organize such conference, especially when the country will soon go into campaign.
Most times we get to cover those stories about the judiciary, and sometimes you are not entirely in touch with what the issues are. These are some of the challenges we have on the job as journalists covering the judiciary. So with this sort of workshop, some of those niggling issues have been addressed, particularly listening to veterans, those who have been on the beat for quite some time, and then also practitioners as well. They have been able to also further beam more light on these issues and also lend their expertise on how we can go about addressing them as journalists. Because if we're able to do that, It will help us, approach our jobs better as professionals, and by so doing, the people, of course, we are telling these stories to will understand us better and have a better knowledge of what, of how the judiciary works.
I've gained quite a lot, the role of judiciary in good governance, and the role of the press. So I've learned not to always get my story balanced. I've also learned not to be transparent in good reportage, and our story should be balanced.
I've got to know that there's a lot that the Nigerian judicial system has to put in place for it to function optimally. So as a journalist, my duty is to bring the judicial, these areas under the spotlight, to ensure that what needs to be done is done promptly as it should, in the interest of the country and the interest of the citizens. Because a judicial system that is non-functional, or a judicial system that doesn't deliver to its capacity, will ultimately work against the people. Of course, we as journalists, as watchdogs of the society, it's incumbent on us to make sure we make the judicial system function as it should, in the interest of the people.
Highlights of the event includes the launching of the association's almanac.
12 inmates of 2 correctional centers in Niger State have regained their freedom, courtesy of a foundation which footed their bills.
The payment of fines initiative provided freedom to the 12 inmates from the Agaye and Lapai custodial centers. Brigadier General Bello Abdullahi Mohammed Agaye says the foundation provides skills, teaching and learning opportunities through scholarship to the needy. The foundation, he adds, facilitated the payment of fines of 18 to 100,000 naira to enable inmates who are proven to be of good conduct while undergoing rehabilitation regain freedom and by extension decongest the custodial center.
Better they leave this environment where they have been caged for too long, and I think that will be better for them.
In a message, the Controller General Nigerian Correctional Service, represented by the Niger State Controller of the Service, Salman Abdul Kadir, commended the initiative, advocating that non-governmental organizations and well-to-do individuals emulate the gesture through collaboration with the Correctional Service. The Controller General, however, warned the freed inmates not to go back to crime.
I'm very happy because this has always been what the Controller General of Nigeria Correctional Service has always been emphasizing, that we should reach out to people who are ready to help in decongesting, rehabilitation and rehabilitation of inmates.
Other stakeholders appreciated the initiative, noting that it will go a long way in rehabilitating and keeping young people away from crimes. Speaking on behalf of the freed inmates, Mustafa Ibrahim appreciated the foundation for facilitating their freedom. The 12 inmates were offered cash grants to enable them start a new life.
That's a package for this week. Thanks for being part of the program. I am Dili Atsumi.
He's a 54-year-old man that has actually lived his life. You know, when you have plans for yourself, you don't just want to be stagnant in one place, and then you keep training and retraining yourself, upgrading yourself to be the best where you can find yourself. As in, in your office, your organization, your community, your society. This man has been so many things until one day a silent thief strolled into his world and stole something very precious to him. What is it? Glaucoma. Glaucoma. Silent thief of sight. Took away this man's eyes and rendered him blind. Left him in the dark with nobody. You know, you're a man of the people, and suddenly one day you will become alone because of your situation. On Against All Odds today, we're bringing everything you need to know about my guest. But before we get to meet him, let us take a look at this little backgrounder about him. My name is Dushma Pius Ikerafe. Let's do this together.
Life is a mixture of the good, the bad, and the ugly. At every stage you come across leaves you with a lesson and makes you better or worse. You may be physically fit today, but tomorrow all your physical fitness may disappear into thin air and the unimaginable begins to happen in your life. Against All Odds crew met with Chief Izido Jacob Ikiago. He hails from Indu, Osibele local government area in Ogba, Egbana, Indoni local government area of Rivers State. He was the paramount ruler of the community up until 2017. Presently, he lives in Omoku, his local government headquarters, due to frequent yearly flooding in his house and fear of kidnapping and militancy activities in his community. Chief Isidore Jacob attended St. Isaac Elementary School, Surulere, Lagos, and Municipal Council School, Orugbun, Z, near Garrison, Port Harcourt, Rivers State, where he obtained the first school leaving certificate in 1973 for his secondary education. He attended Birabi Memorial Grammar School, Bori, Rivers State, and Methodist High School, Arigbajo, Ogun State, where he obtained his WAEC in 1981. He also attended University of Port Harcourt and obtained a diploma in shipping and transport in 1992. He sat and obtained a professional certificate in logistics from Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, London in 1993.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it is still Against All Odds on the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. Wow. Once a high chief, always a high chief. And in spite of all the challenges, in spite of all the abandonment and everything. And today, I have the pleasure of having with me on set via Zoom, Chief Isidore Ikiago. It's good to have you on set, Chief.
Nice to have you here.
At what point did this challenge come upon your life?
I began to really notice that something is wrong in 2016. When in my place of work, I began to notice that while using the computers, the heat, the rays from the computers to my eyes become very hot. It becomes very hot such that I will sometimes go outside the office to take some, to get some relief. Until one day I noticed that while in the container stacking area, I used to see container numbers 50 meters from where I'm standing, 50 meters to the container. I noticed that I'm not able to see the numbers any longer. I have to strain my eyes to see the container numbers while taking stock of containers under my care. I thought it was a joke, A few weeks after, I noticed that it's becoming dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. Then I had to present it. My company placed us on HMO, Health Management Organization. And the Health Management Organization told me to come to Port Harcourt because I was working in Warri. By the time I got to Port Harcourt, my employer said I was on bronze plan. I'm not entitled for eye surgery. It's from there I pleaded. They said no, that people who are in head office are on gold or diamond. Those are the people that are entitled for eye surgery. So that was the beginning, and I had no money. That was the beginning of my journey to blindness. So before I could know it, things began to deteriorate. Before I could get money to attend to it, things were moving too fast, just as the doctor said. So later, when I couldn't continue on the job, when I left the job, he gave me referral to another clinic in Kaduna, one Agawal Indian eye specialist. I went there. There was no money to continue the treatment. I went to National Eye Hospital. Things were already worse. That's how I got into blindness. So till today, I'm moving from one clinic to another, one clinic to another. I'm just fed up. So it's not a thing that, it's not a small journey. It's not a thing that you can wish your enemy. It's a very bad journey.
He started his first work as a nightclub DJ with Manatee Nightclub Port Harcourt, from where he got connected to a job as a shipping clerk with Lawrence Ayo and Sons Limited in 1988. He rose to a transport manager in 1991 and moved to Siapen Contracting Nigeria Limited, Port Harcourt, as a shipping officer, though he lost the job and went into private business briefly. In 2010, he worked with CICO Construction and Leasing Company Limited and later moved to Desinco Engineering Limited as Field Logistics Officer in Warri Port, Delta State in 2014. In late 2015, he visited Sotera Eye Clinic, Warri, and was seen by a chief consulting officer, owner, who told him after tests that he had glaucoma. He continued to see him until 2016, when he referred him to Lily Hospital, Warri, and late Dr. Agawar Clinic, Kaduna. In between, he continued to work and pleaded for his employers to help him, but they refused. He finally lost his vision around 30th June 2018 after he lost his job in December 2017. He held various positions in his community before becoming paramount ruler in 2014. He was a Secretary, Traditional Council, CDC, Vice Chairman, and Chairman of the Community Constitution Drafting Committee, Chairman Disciplinary Committee, Chairman School Committee, among others.
Community, forget about it. They have, up till now, they have not even bothered to ask me since I left the job or since this blindness struck me. They've not paid me one visit, a day visit. I've not received any visit from them. They just appointed a new chief and life goes on with them. So I'm just left to lick my wounds if I don't know the right word to use there. So as for my employers, they have discriminatory health policy. Most of these private firms, they have discriminatory employment and health policy. There are people who are on bronze, there are people who are on bronze plan, there are people who are on gold plan, there are people who are on diamond plan. They never did anything. The HR told me I am on bronze plan since I'm a project staff. I said, what this is? What I didn't know about this when I was joining them. I didn't know. We just go for a normal. Maybe you go. You have fever. You go. When you have serious things, and they say no, you are not entitled to this type of treatment. I was surprised. And later, I even asked them How about our contributory social insurance monthly contribution that they do deduct from our salaries? Nothing is said about it. I don't know how to go about using the national health insurance scheme, and there were deductions during my working life with the last employers, the last people I worked with. There were deductions from our salaries to that effect. Nothing like national health insurance that is not working. So I'm telling people, please, if you're joining a company, be very careful. Check the welfare package very well. This, my experience, is not what people should go through. I'm seeing here. It's very expensive. This treatment is very expensive. I mean, eye treatment or eye glaucoma treatment is very expensive.
This is against all odds.
Right now, he feels dejected and abandoned because he has lost so much friends and relations. He hardly gets any visit from his siblings and friends. Sometimes he stays week without anybody calling him, which was not the same when he had his vision. Nobody cares to know how he feeds or pays his rent since he no longer lives in his country home, though initially very few friends and relations tried to come along to confirm his state and gossip to others, but right now, no visits anymore.
Nigerian Society for the Blind is a rehabilitation center based in Lagos where, of course, they try to give hope to persons with blindness to make them know that they can still be useful to themselves. And obviously, you've spoken to one of the executives. Now, tell us, what do you look forward to?
I'm very interested. I want to go there. At least let me know how to move around. It's not a good thing to stay at home without going out. So you stay at home 3 or 4 times. Sometimes my legs will be swollen. Sometimes I will starve myself to reduce weight because of inactivity. Nobody to take me out. You know, it's not easy. Things like that. So I look forward to going to that school to get some training, at least move around, get on with my life again, if possible. I'm told I will be taught how to cook, how to wash, how to at least do basic things for myself instead of waiting for people. Even the idea of going out, being able to at least move out, move around, is interesting me because it's like I'm going to learn how to walk again. You know, things like that. So, but my challenge is that before I got this link, I've been drained. 3 years is not a joke, you know. So I don't know. I have the desire to go there, but the question now is how do I raise the money now that people have abandoned me? Nobody is. My phone no longer rings. I don't even know, but I believe God that maybe somebody is going to do something for me.
Tell us how you came about this program.
Well, I was just, since I've been staying at home for 3 years, I hardly go out. Sometimes in a year, I just go out maybe 3 times. Maybe when I go out for routine to try to see whether I can buy, I can see if I get donations from people, some money from friends or whatever. I said, okay, let me go and see if I can buy 1 or 2 eye drops because the eyes will be very heavy, very hot. I stay at home. So I was fed up. I now told my neighbor's son, who used to come around me, to please help me check on the net if I can get any organization that can give me help, whatever, or go to a blind school or whatever. So when he came, we are just browsing the net through. He was helping me to browse the net to see whether we can get any of such organization, NGOs or whatever. Then we just had a program on television where they were talking about blind people, you know, and so on, that blind people, there's still another life. It's not the end of the world, and so on and so forth. So I told him, wait, let me listen to these people. I checked, it was NTA. So I drew closer and I listened to the end. I told him to be very watchful if we can see an email link or a telephone link that we use to connect with them. So luckily, he saw the telephone line there. He now took it down. And after the program, I now put a call through. And that was it. That's how I got connected to this program. I'm very happy. The reception I've even, from the day I spoke with them till today, I know I've not received my side, but the encouragement has been very wonderful.
How his son manages to go through his education is a miracle. On some occasions, when he visits offices in Port Harcourt, some people treat him like a leper, distancing themselves from him. Even when glaucoma is not infectious, he feels pained. When we gather in moonlight at the village ground, it is not because of the moon. Every man can see it in his own compound. We come together because it is good for everybody to do so.
Well, my son, what he did was to leave me and go to Port Harcourt to meet his maternal relatives or assistants. He's living there with them. They have been helping somehow to meet his school needs, but it's not enough. But I won't say they are trying. To bring him for me. I regret not being able to train him because of my state right now. It's a 400 level petroleum engineering student in River State University of Science and Technology.
What is that thing that has kept hope alive in you?
The preachings that I receive from people who come to talk to me, those people that come to talk to me Sundays. So many times I think of suicide, but recently that is not beginning to leave my mind, but it's not easy. Somebody who had his eyes up to 50 and now suddenly doesn't have eyes. It's like learning how to use the left hand at old age. I'm missing a lot of things. I'm missing social life.
How has your wife been coping with you?
Most times she'll be crying. When she sees people of my age, she sees people driving. She said, my husband was like this before. Yeah. It's not easy to live with a man that does not have eyes.
Have you thought of trying to see one or two things that you can still do to bring food to the table?
The whole place is dark.
Yeah.
So in that state, without fear, I do not go to look for job. That's why I was elated to come on air with you. For you to assist me, reach Nigerians. They should help me. I need rehabilitation, train myself, and fend for my family. I don't want to beg.
This is against all odds.
You married a man who had eyes, and suddenly you discovered that your husband is without eyes, and then you have to be his eyes. How has it been for you as a wife? How has it been?
The next question, anyway. I married him when he's not blind. So now, as the situation is like this now, I think that I cannot leave him. He's still my husband. Even in this condition, I cannot deny him. And I know that there is a lot of challenges, but I still believe in God that one day that things may happen. So I know a lot of people telling me that as a young lady, how can you be staying with this man, a blind man like this? You have to leave him and move on your life. So I told them, no, when I know him, it's not like this. And leaving him now is like, I don't know where I will go. And from there, maybe it's there God will punish me from that, because when I know this man is a very okay and he's a very supportive man. So leaving him now, I don't know what will happen.
Now, I'm sure your husband mentioned to you that he actually came across this program and desires to go out again, go to a rehabilitation center and all that. As a wife, what do you think about the plan he has?
Oh, when he told me about the plan, I was very happy about the plan, because I know that through there, God may do something, because he's not a man that sits one place anywhere. It's just these situations that make him to sit one place. So when he told me that, I was very happy. I said, if you can do it, there's no problem. So we discussed as a husband and wife. So I support him to do what he wants to do, so that will keep him happy, and so that he will live long for me.
Thank you very much, Chief, and your pretty wife for coming on Against All Odds. Yes, it's been Against All Odds with Chief Izegu. You know, obviously, looking at this man and going through his profile and his curriculum and all that, you will notice that he was not even a lazy man from the onset. He's a man of activity, a man on his feet. But suddenly blindness set in, and then he had to confine himself in his house. People need to be trained. People need to be taught how to live their life all over again. He needs help. He needs to be trained. He needs to know how to cook, how to move around, how to be productive. Nobody wants to live his life confined in the four walls of a house. No way. He's just 54, still very agile, full of life and activity. I am very sure that well-being Nigerians will be delighted to invest in this man's life, to just help him, his friends, his family, the community he has served. Please, I'm sure someone will just wake up and see the need to send him to the rehabilitation center in Lagos. Thank you for staying with us on Against All Odds. We will bring a follow-up of his story very soon to you. Keep hope alive and don't just remain in that dark room. My name is Toshima Pius Ikirafe.
In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, information management is key.
I'm Cyril Stober.
Fatima Umar Buba.
Joseph Johnson.
Ian Ray John.
Muhammad Kudu Abubakar.
Jumbo Yusuf.
My name is Kirian Umaya.
Here in NTA, we're working very hard to make sure that everything we broadcast is accurate and up to date. Misinformation spreads very fast.
The social media has been a huge conveyor of misleading information from one individual to another, then to another set of groups. In a short while, it goes viral, and before you know it, it is all over the world.
There have been several misleading information on coronavirus COVID-19. Recently, the misconception of 5G as a cause of coronavirus is becoming widespread. Another is the belief that hot beverages and alcoholic drinks are internal cleanser for COVID-19, thereby leading to excessive consumption of these drinks.
The use of local concoctions as treatment for COVID-19 are yet to be scientifically proven. However, there has been several theories about the efficacies of these concoctions. We should stay safe and denounce all manner of fake news and misleading information on COVID-19.
For medical advice, go on the WHO website, Nigeria Center for Disease Control NCDC website, or stick with the advisories from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 or other authentic official sources. NTA is one of them.
If you see your brother standing by the road with a heavy load from the seeds he sowed.
Who is your neighbor? A question made popular from the old scripture. The answer has typically come from an unexpected angle. The admonishment to love your neighbor in the same manner that you love yourself really is as old as the story of the Good Samaritan. But really, the sentiment remains very important today. In the past, coexistence was our default state. But in this present climate of heightened security, it seems that the walls and the barricades that we're so focused on have separated and imprisoned us. Do you know your neighbors? Our forefathers made extra effort to welcome new members of the community into a larger family. That is a culture that's African, indeed Nigerian. Sadly, that culture is on the decline. Now we host festivities in our homes without extending so much as a simple invite to our next door neighbor. Makes you wonder, does charity still begin at home? Perhaps we're scared, but scared of what? Ignorance is at the root of hostility. So education and tolerance are vital. Our focus should be on bridging our differences and emphasizing the things that we have in common. We need to be eager to learn more about the people around us. Get to know your neighbors. Treat them well. The injunction to be your brother's keeper was not just for Cain and Abel, but for us all.
Leave